2 out of 2. Not bad start, yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. Tough start for us really, and you look at those teams last year, how well they did in the league. So yeah, you know, albeit Leinster was resting quite a few of their internationals, was well documented after the game, and I suppose it's like saying Man United haven't got a very good second string. I suppose you know the players that came in for Leinster were good players, and you know, sure in a few years' time a lot of those guys will be challenging for international honours as the guys have done over the last few years. So it was a good win for us, good confidence booster for us. But probably the Glasgow one was the one that gave us a bit better of an indication of where we were at really. And I think Glasgow, they were a good side. They were everything we thought they would be, and we did a very good defensive job up there, and we were very clinical, and we had a chance with the ball in the right areas, which was pleasing, because I think we've been quite good at creating opportunities over the last couple of seasons, and we haven't always nailed a high percentage of them, so it's been a bit of a focus for us, so it's nice to see it come off.
Is that the kind of game you might have lost in the past?
Yeah, I think we had a pretty good go at losing the one on the weekend. But yeah, I think the one thing that has become apparent when you don't make playoffs or Heineken quarters is you go searching for the reasons why, and there's no doubt that we've been the constructors of our own downfall at certain parts of certain key games, and we have put a focus on trying to give the players a better understanding of the type of decisions that perhaps would be more helpful in those types of scenarios. And they don't always get it right. We don't always get it right as coaches, far from it. Players don't. So, but it is just trying to give them that little bit of extra information that in the key situations, trying to make them make those right decisions. And they got some wrong up in Glasgow, but we got them more of them right, which will always help you. So yeah, the answer to your question, we could have and nearly did lose it again.
Is he somebody that spends a lot of time kicking practice?
He does. He spends an awful lot of time. I know that Nigel last year and myself discussed some of the goal kicking issues the season before, and we made a big point of trying to get Rhys in with Jinx as much as he could. And I know Rhys himself wanted to improve it, and he has worked. He worked really hard at his game, and only yesterday he and I were doing some kicking up the field again. So he puts a big focus on it, Rhys, and I'm not a great kicking coach by any means. I'm learning that aspect of it, but his regular work with Jinx, and hopefully some conversations I'll have with Jinx about things I need to be looking out for in his kicking, when it's good, when it's bad, will only help Rhys get better. And we as a region, I think, have highlighted that, and we're in the midst of trying to come up with an idea of that might help develop these players even more so with that kicking, because Jinx is only available so much. He can only give so much of his time to each of the regions, so we need to try and develop that within the region as well.
How often does Jinx come in? Is it like once a week or fortnight?
I think Rhys sees him a lot and speaks to him a lot in his own time, to be honest, Andy. I think he comes down here as often as he can, really, as often as we request. So we see him, sometimes we see him once every month, sometimes he's here twice in a week. It just depends. It depends on his sort of commitments, I think. But I know Rhys has already spoken to Jinx. Monday morning he'd already spoken to him about the kicking. So those two, I'm confident those two are on top of things. Jinx is a good professional guy, and there's no doubt he would have been reading the report and seeing that Rhys had missed a few kicks and would have been straight on the phone. So yeah, it's good. I know he's a great guy to have.
Ali Thomas has played really well in his first match.
Done very well.
He's in the shake-up, hasn't he, anyway?
Yeah, he's in the shake-up, and I've had a chat with Alan about why we didn't bring him on up there, and it goes back to my point about actually we're going to let Rhys have a little battle through this year, because I'm conscious of the fact that Alan's had quite a bit of game time in the off-season, Andy, as well, so he's quite up to speed where we're at. Rhys is not, so it's only right that Rhys being our number 110 last year, and obviously Wales is number 110, that we give him as much game time as we can to be right for Europe. I think it's the right thing to do, to have two players that have had good game time playing well. So maybe this week it might be a case of sharing the workload out a bit more, but certainly Rhys needs to keep playing as far as I'm concerned, because my experience of Rhys, only a short period as a coach obviously, but he gains with confidence and he plays better when he's playing consistently. So we're trying our best to get our best players, play him into form, if you like.
So he's going to play this weekend. I mean, you're on.
Well, it depends. It depends on what Simon decides when I get back over there. But yeah, he'll have some involvement, I should imagine. Yeah.
What about availability this week? Anybody in? Anybody out?
Christian Phillips is not available because he pulled hamstring, or had a hamstring strain in the Newport game. But I think generally we're picking from a fairly fit squad. I think there's a bit of illness around, but you know, I don't know how that's. I think hopefully the boys will come through that. You know, sniffles and shit.
Is the scrum a concern at the moment, Mark?
Well, I think yeah, you know, there's no doubt about it. We haven't had dominance in the scrum, and I think if you look at, you know, some of the best teams, they've definitely got a parity, if not a dominance, and it's been a bit up and down with us really, Rob. I don't think it's cost us too many tries and points, but it hasn't been a place where we know we can guarantee front foot ball either. So there's a big focus on it at the moment, and there's players in that area who haven't played much as well, so it's getting them into a bit of form as well. And there's a couple of technical issues from what I gather, but yeah, not too worried about it at the moment. I'm confident in the players that we've got in the squad at the moment and the ones that will arrive.
And you mentioned being clinical earlier. 10 tries, 7 of them from the back, so that must be easy from yourself.
Yeah, you can tell the wingers coaching the backs. Yeah, no, listen, it's something that the boys have done particularly well. They've taken their chances. The individuals in that back three have started the season very well. You know, they've started. Andy Femby in particular was scoring tries in pre-season, and he's carried that into the season. George obviously been playing well last season and has just kicked on from where he was. So that's great. And the good thing for me at the moment is the team is complementing those players. We've got good width generally in our attack, and we're excited about getting the ball in those players' hands, and those players are working particularly hard to get on the ball. So lots of little things which add to it, but yeah, I'm really pleased, and you know, we hope we can keep that type of intent up within this group, and we also need to develop a tighter game as well, you know, so that when perhaps the weather's not as good and we can't get that width in our game, that we've got potent attacking options in other areas.
Two centres seem to work well together on the weekends. Is that something you're excited about moving forward? Because they haven't
Yeah.
played a huge amount for the...
No, they haven't. We haven't had a chance to develop them much as a partnership, really. Especially last season when Scott got called up. Perhaps John was a bit more expected to go to the World Cup, but obviously Scott, he got in there, and we didn't have a chance to build that partnership over the off season. But the good thing was they were training together with Wales, etc. So when I had them last year, from my own perspective, I tried to keep things very simple, you know, in terms of not asking them to do anything too complicated, because they've got lots of calls going around in their head from Wales, etc. So we've been able to build on that a little bit this season, and obviously playing them together a bit more now is helping that, I hope. And we haven't seen the best of them yet, I'd like to think. Hopefully, Scott started particularly well, you know, because he's had a bit more game time than John, and put a big focus on some of his passing, and we've seen sort of two really good passes from him under pressure. He did tell me this morning he was on for a hat-trick, but he blew the one against Leinster, you know, and he didn't give it. So for his own admission, he was not happy with that. But he dodged a bullet there because we ended up scoring next after. But yeah, so he's put a big focus on it, Scott, and we've tried to work him hard, and it's nice to see it paying off for him, because he's such a physical player. To have that to his armoury as well, it's only going to help his running game as well. If defenders are thinking, well, actually, he might pass this, it'll only aid his running game, I think. So.
Mark Slimes, you had to a lot of talk last week.
I think I'm going to miss out this. I don't think I'm going to make it.
Yeah, there's a huge amount of boys who could make it from the Scarlets. What are you kind of expecting?
Well, I'm thinking that most players playing in a regional team at the moment are thinking, Miss Lions here, I'm going to have a pop at this. So, you know, there's no doubt that we've got players ones that are already in international squads, will be, you know, thinking that they're in with a chance, you know. Championship winning side, Wales got the semi-finals of the World Cup, so you'd think that there's a quality of player there that's deserving of being on a Lions tour. So the good thing for me is I haven't heard any of the players talking about it, which is great. They're just chuffed to be focusing on us and playing well for us, and I think they know that if they do that, then one, they'll get picked for Wales, and obviously that puts them in the shop window then to maybe get those Lions aspirations. But I think can't put the cart in front of the horse. You've got to make sure he works right at the Scarlets, and at the moment, you know, we're not even mentioning that L word. We're really focused on getting the region in a good place, and if the region's in a good place, then people are going to look at our players and ask questions of why somebody must be doing something right there. The guys must be playing well. So,
what's the message to them for this weekend? Just more of the same, or?
Yeah, I think so. We're just looking for those little bit of incremental increase all the time. You know, that little 1% here, 1% there. Just get a little bit better at the things we did well the week before, and improve on the things we didn't do so well. So, yeah, you know, I don't want to change too much. I just want to get better at what we do on a more regular basis. and hopefully not end up with a tight margin at the end of the game where the other team's still in it. You know, I think we need to make sure that we're really ruthless and get the game won, and then look after and protect that lead.
Beat Leinster in Glasgow. You would expect it to...
No, I don't expect to win because we haven't won in Connacht for a long time, so I got no expectation on winning. I expect the boys to perform to the level that they performed in the first 2 games, and if they do that, then they'll be in with a chance of getting something out of the game. But no, the expectations on the performance of the players to deliver what they've done in the first 2 games. That's the expectation. The result, there's no expectation on that. That'll be taken care of under the performance, I think.
Marks out of 10 for the first 2 games?
Average marks, or 1 for each?
Overall for the 2.
6.5.
Room for improvement.
Definitely room for improvement. Yeah.
Struggling Ireland as well, Malcolm, you in recent years, you haven't won there for a while.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
If you're going to the top 4, then it's something you need to do, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, no, I think so. That all those teams that are in the mix at the end of the season, all of them, but most of the teams in the mix at the end of the season are all teams that we've come close to beating in Ireland but haven't. And again, it's not like we haven't come close to it. We've, you know, Munster games in particular last year, both league and Heineken, we were very close, and we didn't get it. We didn't nail it down, you know. So like you say, this could be a small stepping stone into getting that monkey off our back if it is one, but also then developing then to take on you know, the Leinsters and the Munsters and the Ulsters we've got later in the season.
Do you look at this block, Mark, and see an opportunity for the Scarlets to really, you know, make a statement? Because obviously you've got, there's a derby match down the corner, then obviously you've got Treviso and the Dragons after that. Do you see it as an opportunity?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, it was good in it sort of we had an idea of how we should start the season in terms of selection, that type of things. We were conscious that we hadn't seen much of the international players, so we thought, well, it's a good chance for us to, as a region, to train with them and get them some game time, which one will aid us because we get you better players available, but also hopefully aid Wales as well, because those players will be in a good run of form hopefully come the autumn. So tie that up with obviously us wanting to make a good start in the league as well, and you know, I look at the Ospreys last year, they got off to a great start, didn't they? And it kind of was the underpinning of them really when they had a little bit of a sticky patch towards the end of the year, that the fact that they'd accumulated a good amount of points in the early part of the season kept them in the hunt. So we're no different, you know. We're okay at the moment in terms of our points, you know. I think it's 9 points, and but the teams that qualified tend to be on about 65, 66, so we got a few to go yet. So yeah, I think we were conscious we wanted to make a good start. There's no doubt about that, and I think our selection has said that. But also, I think the guys that perhaps have been associated with the Wales squad have also been very, very good. You know, the non-international players have been excellent for us, and they've only complemented those internationals when they've come in.